welcome to this video. In this video, we'll have a look at the trekking route of the Kanchenjunga Base Camp. This trek starts at Taplejung. You can take a bus to Taplejung from Kathmandu. It takes about 10 hours. And you could walk from Taplejung going across the valley, or you could take a jeep which takes you all the way to Sekathum. The jeep passes through Gadi Dara, Linkim, and takes you all the way to Sekathum. It also passes through a junction in the valley where the route diverts, and that's where you could decide to go to the South Base Camp first. You could hike from Ranipul to Torong 10 and then go up to the South Base Camp, or you could go to the North Base Camp first. Generally, people go up the North Base Camp first. Walking from Sekathum, you pass through Amjilosa, where you take a day's rest and then go further up to Gyabla and then Gunsa. Some hardy people do this entire stretch in a day, but it's always good to take rest. Gunsa is always a very good rest point, where you could take 2 to 3 days of acclimatization. The way to Sele Pass also crosses from Gunsa, so you will be coming back to Gunsa after trekking further higher further north. The next day's trek from Gunsa takes you to Khangbachen, and from Khangbachen you could go up to the Janu Base Camp or the Janu viewpoint. Most people skip this, but this is a beautiful sight to watch, as the Janu mountain looks like an eagle which is sitting on the mountain. You could also take an extra day of rest at Khangbachen. From Khangbachen starts the high altitude and you trek to Lonak. After staying a night in Lonak, you walk across the glacial river to the Phangpema Base Camp, or also called the North Base Camp. This is the most difficult part of the trek, as it involves a lot of walking in high altitude, and you will be spending almost 4 to 5 days after Gunsa in high altitude, and the temperatures are going to be cold, but you get to see a breathtaking view of the Kanchenjunga mountain. The mountain is only visible after you walk a couple of hours on the final day, but the sight is worth it. After the base camp, you walk back to Khangbachen and passing through Lonak and all the way back to Gunsa. This is the only route available to trek right now. Another day of rest at Gunsa, and we head into the Sele Pass. Gunsa has mobile networks and electricity, but internet is not very available, so it's always good to take a warm shower and enjoy some calls with family and friends. The Sele Pass is another very difficult day because you gain a lot of altitude. It's always advisable to rest at the Sele hamlet, because the day after is hiking in the snow, and if there's a snowstorm or a sudden blizzard, you are pretty much stuck there and you have the risk of frost bites. So it's always good to start very early from the Sele hamlet and pass the Miringla, which is the first pass, and then 2 more passes after that to reach the village of Cheram. After a day's rest at Cheram, the trekking uphill starts to the South Base Camp. The sight to see out here is pretty amazing. It's a short trek. You could stay an additional day at Ramche while trekking further to Oktang and the Kanchanjunga South Base Camp. Or you could just directly go to Oktang, stay a night there, go to the base camp and come back to Cheram. After Cheram, you walk downhill to Torongten and Totong. At Totong, you see the other route which comes from Ranipul. You could either head down to Ranipul and go back to Taplejung, or cross the mountain and go across Chitre and go to Yamphudin. From Yamphudin, you get a taxi which takes you through Ekchania Bhanjang to Ganesh Chowk. It's always better to take the old route which goes through Yamphudin because you get to see historical artifacts. And also, the view from Yamphudin as you trek is very amazing on a clear day. If it's not a clear day, well, you could decide to go to Ranipul and go to Taplejung. This is a very strenuous trek and often advisable to do with a guide, and also you should take care of your fitness before you come on this trek. If you've never trekked before, this is a trek which you should certainly avoid, but if you have some trekking experience and good fitness, you could do it. Or you could take some shortcuts, only do the North Base Camp or only the South. The South is a little easier than the North Base Camp, but both have their own advantages and excitements, and you always could just come to Yamphudin and take the taxi back to Taplejung or Ganesh Chowk, where you get another taxi to Ilam. Ilam is a very beautiful town and you could spend the night there, and that's pretty much the trek. And there's quite a lot of altitude gain, but the best part of this trek is it's unexplored and it's not touristy at all, and the nature and culture out here is amazing. Thank you guys for watching.